Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's Dux-Soup webinar. In this webinar, Giles Garnett, the head of professional services, will show you how to build a direct dashboard in Google Sheets using Dux-Soup webhooks. Live chat that is being monitored by me, Jin, the head of customer support. And at the end of the webinar, Giles will be answering to your questions that you will have during this webinar. So thank you very much for joining us today, and let's start our webinar.
Thank you, Jim. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone joining today's webinar. That's if you're watching live or via the recording. Firstly, to introduce myself to anyone who's new to these webinars or indeed Dux-Soup. My name is Giles Garnett, and I'm head of professional services here at Dux-Soup. I present the product webinars every 2 weeks, and as well as that, I run the booster and technical calls, as well as doing other consultancy work. So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different from the last few weeks, where we've had some customer presentations and that sort of thing. And what we'll be doing is demonstrating a technical solution to producing a sort of a dashboard or tracking sheet within Google Sheets. And remember, you will have seen this on the invites and everything. We're going to be focusing on Turbo users. So remember, in order to make what I'm going to be demonstrating here today work, you will require Turbo. There will be, I think, on the handouts in the chat box, Jin has shared or will be sharing the JavaScript text that I'll be using. So if you want to, should we say, play along live, then that should be there available for you to be able to copy and paste into your spreadsheet. If you want to do this simultaneously with me or when you're watching the recording back later. Now, today's aim is to basically show you what's possible within in Google Sheets to build this build this simple tracking sheet and to demonstrate how the data is getting there. Back in December, we presented a webinar and there was a blog post showing users how to build a simple tracking dashboard using a combination of Dux-Soup, Zapier, and Google Sheets. And then in May, so a couple of months ago, we produced a blog post showing you how to directly link your Dux-Soup and LinkedIn activity to Google Sheets using webhooks and without Zapier. But that was a very sort of basic solution and was only capturing visit data. So what we've done now is combined the two, and our developers have been busy and put together this solution for you, which will capture a combination of visit, action, and message events from a webhook, and thus provide you with a tracking spreadsheet. So the big benefit of connecting directly to Google Sheets in this way is that it can reduce your reliance on other systems such as Zapier or Integromat, and therefore potentially reduce your costs. So if you're handling hundreds of events per day, we are very aware that these solutions can get expensive. Now, I am by no means a JavaScript expert, and I'm not going to go into extensive detail regarding what's in the text, but I will explain what there is from a high level, and indeed what we're attempting to do here is to give you the means to get started with this solution, and then you can use it as it is, or indeed take what we've done and develop it further to meet your own requirements. Your requirements you need to be able to do this today is a LinkedIn account, a Dux-Soup Turbo account, and access to Google Sheets. We're going to step through each bit step by step and show you exactly what to do. And this is what we should end up with. I'll show you very briefly in a minute the webinar and the blog post from December. But basically what we're looking to do is populate a spreadsheet where we capture all of this data here. So a profile ID, first name, last name, job title, company email address, and then the connection message that you've sent, the timestamp of the new prospect has accepted your invitation, any sent message that you've sent as well, and then if you've received a response, the text of that message and the timestamp associated with it. So that's what we're looking to do today from a very high level. These are the steps we're going to go through. We're going to create a new Google Sheet. We're going to name the worksheet and the columns accordingly. We're going to copy and paste the JavaScript that's been pre-prepared into the script editor and save it. We'll copy the webhook link into Dux-Soup and set all the permissions appropriately. ensure the Dux-Soup's configured correctly, and then we're going to do some testing. And we should then see the data being populated in the spreadsheet. I won't be able to show the entire flow because I suspect I won't get any people accepting my invitation requests while we're live. But I can at least show you the theory and show you how that will work and take you through step by step. Now, everything has been documented and it'll be available in a blog post, which will be available tomorrow, I understand. So let's get started. So first of all, I will go to my dash. I've created here a new spreadsheet. I've called it Webinar Dashboard. And the first thing I need to do is label my spreadsheet. Now, what we've put in the JavaScript is for clarification here, we've actually called this very simply the Dux-Soup dashboard. Hopefully everybody can see this okay. Hopefully the resolution is okay today. I'll try and go slowly so that everyone can hopefully keep up. So we call our worksheet the Dux-Soup.
Sorry to interrupt. Would you be able to zoom in because it's a little bit
Of course I can.
Blurry. Thank you.
Is that a bit better?
Just a little bit more, please.
Let's go 175. There we go.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, the text at the bottom doesn't change, but the spreadsheet at least is now zoomed in to 175%. We'll see how we go. What I may be able to do, actually, let's have a think. Let's put that back to there and zoom in here instead. Maybe that's better. There we go. Then everything's a bit bigger. Hopefully everyone can see that now. So the first thing I need to do is define the columns. Now, as I mentioned just now, we're referring back to a tracking dashboard that we configured back in December. So here we have our the blog post associated with this. And what we did here in this blog post, I'll scroll down a little bit and give it a moment to refresh. Zoom in again so that you can see that these are the fields that we defined at that time. So the profile, the first name, last name, etc., etc. So we want to create those column names in our new spreadsheet. So what I will do is I will very quickly, I have another one open in the background, we'll copy and we'll go back to our dashboard here, and I'm going to paste those into there. So we've got profile ID, first name, last name, job title, company email, a connection message, the connection acceptance time, etc., etc. All of these are here, and this will be, as I say, documented clearly within the blog post. If you're trying to keep up, we have connection message here, we have connection acceptance time, accepted time, sent message time, responded message, and responded message time. As I say, if you want to follow along, you can always go back to the blog post from previous, it was in December there. So those are our columns that we wish to populate. Now what we need to do is basically populate the JavaScript into our Google Sheet to make sure that the Google Sheet is capturing everything from the webhook that we're going to define. And in order to do that, we need to go to the Tools menu here along the top, and we go to the Script Editor here. And we will open the Script Editor, and that opens up this untitled project here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just give this a name. I'm just going to call it Dux Tracking. You can call it anything you like, but I'm just going to call it that for now. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove everything from there, and I'm going to copy and paste the pre-prepared JavaScript that we've been working on. And let me just do that. And here we go. And say this should be available via the chat box. And what we have here, I'll probably need to zoom in because this will be way too small. There we go. Hopefully that's clearer. And what we have here now is you can see the various columns here that we have defined within our spreadsheet. You can see the spreadsheet name here, the Dux-Soup dashboard. And then we have here then a number of different functions that work when the webhook is active in Dux-Soup to capture various actions within Dux-Soup. And what we're looking at is visit events to capture visits. We're looking at action events to capture sent messages and connection requests. And then we're looking at capturing message events, which will pick up our new connections and received messages. There are some comments within the JavaScript here, where you can see there's explanations as to what each step is doing along the way here. So yeah, we'll leave that like that. And what we'll do is we'll press the save button. Now what we need to do is we now need to ensure that we get the URL of the webhook and ensure that we've set the correct permissions for this to work. So what I will do now is I'll press the publish button, and I need to deploy this as a web app. So I press there. This is a new project, so I need to just leave that as that. And I need to execute the app as myself because it's going to be myself that's doing it. Here where it says who has access to the app, I need to say it's anyone, even anonymous. And I will press the deploy button there. And I just then need to allow the authorization through my my Chrome account here. Enable that. Click advanced. There we go. And I will just approve that, those permissions. And what will happen now is I will now get my web app URL here. So what I need to do is copy this URL. And now I need to put that into my Dux-Soup options. So I'll go to over here to my Dux-Soup options. And under the Connect tab here, I'm now going to enable the webhook functionality. I'm going to add a new one because those were some that I was testing earlier. I will paste my my unique URL here. Let's make sure that's big enough for everyone to see. Hopefully that's okay. And as I said earlier, what we're looking for here is we're looking just for visit, action, and message events. So I just need visit, action, and message events. There we go. So we've now done that. We've enabled that, and we have deployed our web app. What should happen now is we can go back to our spreadsheets here, and what we'll do is in order to prove that this is working, we will send some sample data across to the spreadsheet. So if I press send sample and OK that, what we should now see is we should see some data appear here within our spreadsheet. And you can see here that there's various test data being sent through. So this one is from the visit test data. This one is from the action test data. And this one is from the message test data. So we've got 3 lines appeared there because we're testing the 3 different types of webhook. 3 different types of events. So what we can do now is we've proved that this is working. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually send out some invitations to some people. And what we should see then is with each visit that I carry out, we'll see some of this data being populated. We should then see the connection message appear here. And what I'll do then is I will enable, because I haven't enabled it yet, the message bridge, because I'll of course need to have that enabled to be able to see connection acceptances and also responses coming in, and we'll see what other data then gets populated. So what I have done here is I've got a search here for people within a certain discussion group, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to my Dux-Soup options, check my actions. I'm going to send a personalized message to these people, and I'm just going to send them an invite using Dux-Soup. And what I'll do is I will just visit and connect. So hopefully we can then just go out and visit a handful of these people and see some data get populated within the spreadsheet. And maybe I should have reloaded this first, but here we go. We should now be carrying out some visits. Could be because I already tested on this list earlier, so it may be that it needs to skip through a few of these before we get to some data that it will do something with. But the joys of doing live testing. So here we go. We've now got a visit going out to this profile. It's got the profile. It's sending a connection request. populating my message within the invite, adding my tag, of course. It's sent the connection request. And what we can do now is, if we have a look back at our tracking spreadsheet, there we are. We can see here that this person has been invited. I've sent them this connection message, and that message will now sit with them until they accept my connection, which hopefully won't take too long, but we'll see. And we can see here that now Dux-Soup is now going out and visiting these profiles, sending a connection message and a connection request on my behalf, and in my tracking spreadsheet is populating all of this accordingly. There we go, and it works quite satisfactorily. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to enable the message bridge as well, to look out for any new messages or any connections that are coming in. So I'm going to turn on the message bridge. Now, I believe I've had a couple of messages come in since I last checked my account. So maybe we'll see some things get populated here, some responses, etc., etc. And we'll see those lines being populated within the spreadsheet as well. But what we can see here is the flexibility of being able to do this directly in Google Sheets. We're not reliant on having to have a Zapier account or an Integromat account. We can define exactly what data we want to appear within our spreadsheet, and we can see it live. And we're not relying on other systems and other subscriptions to allow us to capture this data. So we're still sending connection request messages. Let's have a quick check and see if we can force for any new messages. There we go. Let's do that a second, and let's see if we get any messages come in. Oh, there we go. Yes, we should have we've got a response from somebody there, so maybe we'll get that in our spreadsheet as well there. And if we just zoom out a little bit, just so you can see all of the columns, these would all be populated as and when somebody responds as well. So there we are. I had a response from Jin earlier. It's picked up her some high-level data because I didn't send her an invite, but it's also picked up her response to me. So it would it's picked that one up in my through the message bridge. It's got the timestamp there as to when that message was sent. Yeah, and that's basically the theory there. What I've got here is a number of different test sheets that I've carried out, and you can see actually the whole process working there. All of these columns get populated accordingly. As long as you have your message bridge involved, it will pick up your new connections. As long as you have that as well running, then it will pick up the responses as well. And because the action is the action event is picking up the messages you're sending as well as the connections you're sending out, then the whole process works from beginning to end quite seamlessly. So I say the important thing is making sure that you copy and paste the JavaScript as we've defined it here. Say there are the possibilities here, of course, to go further with this if you want to. So I'm not going to go into detail of this right now, but I'm sure that there are people who are on the call who are far better versed in JavaScript than I am, who would go through this in much more detail. But what we wanted to do here is prove the concept and define this for you. And yeah, I think we can see here that this is running quite nicely. And yeah, we'll see as and when I start getting some responses to these invites, we'll see some acceptance times coming through as well. That's what I wanted to present to you today. We can come back and check on this a bit later. If we just go back to the spreadsheet, to the presentation a moment. Hopefully that's all been pretty clear to you there. We've created our Google Sheet. We've named the worksheet and the columns. We've put the JavaScript in and we've saved it. We've enabled all the permissions. We've copied the webhook link into Dux-Soup. We've ensured that that's enabled. And we've made sure that we're only capturing visit, action, and message events. We've ensured Dux-Soup's configuration is correct, and we've sent out some invitations, and we've created our tracking sheet, which was the target for today. we'll come to questions very, very shortly. But in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to be doing a webinar on the revisit data process and some various options around that, looking at message markers and personalizations of message. And we're also looking into the possibility around gender identification within messaging. We understand that's quite a big topic for quite a lot of people, where if you can scan your data, do some sort of filter by gender, and then personalize your messages according to that using the message markers, the P1, P2, etc. That'll be in 2 weeks' time. And as always, through the normal ducksoup.com/webinars link, you can access all of the previous webinars that have been presented, as well as anything that's in the planning. We've got already a number of different guest speakers coming up in the coming months, and a few other topics that we'll be presenting as well. As always, I will plug the booster calls and the technical sessions. So the booster calls are primarily for pro users who are starting out and trying to familiarize themselves with getting their setup and everything. The technical calls are focused more on the webhook functionality, be that Zapier or Integromat, and now also perhaps with the JavaScript solution that we've put together here as well, to help you get you along your way there, and to make sure that everything's configured correctly and you're understanding what's happening on your behalf with the Dux-Soup robot. The useful links that we normally show, we have the homepage, our blogs, the feedback and suggestions page, which I'm currently reviewing, aware that needs some updating. So we're focusing on that over the next week or two to make sure that's all up to date. Our webinars, the easy tutorials, the link to our fantastic and amazing support team headed by Jen, and of course our very active Facebook community where you can always ask questions as well. I will open up now for questions, Jin, if there are any questions that have come through the chat.
We have a few questions.
Excellent.
So the first one would be, can it collect past messages when visiting profiles?
So it will only pick up messages that the message bridge identifies as new messages. Unfortunately, once a message is read as marked by the message bridge, then it no longer will go back and look at historical messages. So that's really all it's going to be able to do there, in the same way that with the API with Pipedrive, it only looks at messages it's not the Dux-Soup has not identified before, just the way that the message bridge works. I don't know if you remember, a few months ago we used to have to leave messages as unread for it to be able to be picked up, but we've now got beyond that, of course, but it will only look at messages that it's not seen before.
Thank you. Another question, will this also track manual messages that I send out?
Yes, it will. You can send out manual messages. I did some testing with that yesterday. But yes, it should also pick up manual messages that you send out. Yeah, I mean, but it's also a case of have a play around with it, set it up, configure it, and try sending things out like I've done here with some connection requests. You can even try sending out some auto messages to your first degree connections, etc. That's how I was testing yesterday with doing sent messages to first degree connections and populating the sent message column and the sent message time there. So yes, I would very much have a play around with it, because there's various possibilities as it is at the moment, and maybe, as I say, with greater JavaScript skills than I have, you'll be able to come up with even better solutions, maybe, or more possibilities.
Also track messages from Cadence until they reply.
We'll track messages. Sorry.
Follow-up messages, will it?
Yes. So it will track your follow-up message. So yes, so the sent message would be your a follow-up message as well. So yeah, it would pick that up as well. And of course, you could add in more columns if you wanted to pick up all of your various follow-up messages. You could configure that to put your whole drip feed campaign in there and capture all of that. We've only configured this to capture one sent message, and we've also configured it so that you don't get lots of duplication of profiles. So one of the first things that we've set up within the JavaScript is to do a search against profile ID, so you don't get lots of duplication of profiles of lines and data in there. So, but really, what we wanted to do here was set this up as a tracking web spreadsheet to be able to identify who you've sent a connection message to, what was in that connection message, and then if you've sent a follow-up, the first one, and then if, as and when you get a response from them, some sort of text. And that was our goal for this, in order to fulfill that requirement and to match what we'd done at the back end of last year.
Can I populate multiple profiles activity to a single dashboard?
Yes, if you enable the correct permissions. So yeah, if you're using the G Suite, for example, if you're using let's come out of here a second. So if you're using, for example, the G Suite domain, you can set up you'd need to follow this instruction here. So under the technical notes within on our support page, if you go to the technical notes section, and then here at the bottom, so if you're sharing a G Suite, for example, Google Docs through G Suite, you can enable all of these. You need to follow this instruction here, and you should be able to have multiple users populating a single spreadsheet, theoretically, if you follow what's in here. And yeah, follow those guidelines accordingly. It comes from this support page here from the Google support page, the knowledge base there. So yeah, that should be fine. No reason at all why you shouldn't be able to share. Oops, that's kicking in and checking for new messages. Share this and populate a single spreadsheet from multiple users.
Will this work for Sales Navigator too?
Absolutely. If you look back here, I'm running this in Sales Navigator at the moment. So the invites that I've been sending out while we've been talking, these have all been sent through from Sales Navigator. Yes, it definitely works within Sales Navigator, and of course it works in standard LinkedIn as well. I've only shown this in Sales Navigator for now, but yes, you can do this also within standard LinkedIn in the same way that you would do any normal campaign. I'm going to stop the robot there a moment rather than sending out any more for now. Yeah, it works in both standard LinkedIn and Sales Navigator, and will populate in exactly the same way. The data fields are the same, they're mapped across accordingly. So yes, it will definitely work there as well.
Thank you. That's it for now. No more questions. Excellent.
All right. Well, as I mentioned, let's go back here. 2 weeks' time is the Revisit Data webinar. Yes, we'll be presenting that in the normal time slot on a Tuesday. And I think that's everything for now. I'll leave Jin to sign off. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your summer.
See you in the next webinar. Bye.